Hey everybody, it is Jillian. Well, I just woke up, no coffee. I just quickly scanned my newsfeed and saw that the Delta variant of the COVID is lurking. And of course, it's going to be pretty insane this fall because, every fall there's going to be always new viruses and the weather changes, and then of course people are going back indoors and of course mutating everything under the sun. And so I remember when I first started making the connections between cancer and viruses, but I had to go through all of the microbiome, which first of the microbiome was the whole candida. And I thought that cancer is a fungus, but it 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 really wasn't, obviously. I think funguses are part of the whole microbiome, so they have contributions to uh, people's maladies, but that's not the sole reason. And so when I figured out that viruses are related to cancer, it was because I was looking up what components, what factors or viral components made up breast cancer and other types of cancer. And it said that there were a myriad of viruses that were the components of like breast cancer or different cancer. And I'm like, oh shit. And so that's when I'm like, oh my gosh, cancer is catching, cancer is viral, cancer is communicable. And yeah, it is, because when you think about it, we have 7 billion people with bodies at a deficit. And if you're exposed to so many different viruses and it produces agonist antibodies and it has specific evolutionary symptoms letting you know that you are at a deficit and you need to start feeding your body, like one of the symptoms is anemia. Anemia is a lack of iron, it's a lack of red blood cells, it's a lack of red meat. And if you are deficient in red meat and in red blood cells, and you also are triggering cancer, it says that, it means that you're malnourished. And so cancer is evolutionary, yes. It is growth, yes. It is also viral related because viruses are evolving in the body. Okay? And so they're not that different than cold symptoms or flu symptoms, with a few extra added symptoms that you're like, oh wow, I have this rash that hasn't healed in such a long time. Or, like they said, different lumps and tumors and all this stuff. And so everyone is afraid of the big C. Well, of course you are, because your whole bloodline is malnourished. Everyone around you is malnourished. And it's only a matter of when you get exposed to all these viruses when you're going to trigger some kind of cancer type of symptoms, of where it comes up and triggers on an algorithm on a cancer test. And so, yeah, so colds and flus and viruses, cold flu viruses are the catalyst to it if you don't release the excess, if you don't basically patch up the holes in your gut that's causing your lack of energy retention, nutrient, retention, and then intelligently releasing the excess without depleting your body of its resources. And so that's why yesterday I was really, going back and forth as far as the scale, because you can't go from one extreme to the other when it comes to jelly juice. People do that because they think one thing works and that's it, and that's the only thing you do, and everything else takes a back seat. No, it's all about balance. Yes, when this Delta variant from India comes into the US, and it's already being warned to us, when it comes to the US, it's highly communicable. And those on the J juice, most likely, if they're not afraid of symptoms, can deal with it. All they have to do, they could drink J juice and help energize the system and get the phlegm out, get the poop out. Okay? And they'll know they can handle it. They won't overdo J juice. They got to feel the pain. They got to actually rest. You can't just drink a bunch of J juice and then go off and do your job when you know you have some major evolutionary symptom going on, evolutionary leap going on. You have to rest. There's no two ways about it. Those that are on the J juice, those that are not on the J juice, this is the thing. When you do get major symptoms, yeah, I know you're going to turn to antibiotics. You're going to turn to everything under the freaking sun. I'm going to tell you that's going to work totally against you, but you do what you got to do. I'm not your doctor. But if you're going to turn to everything under the sun, also add in J juice somewhere and get the mucus out. Don't dry up the mucus. Don't try to suppress your cough, because you need to build up your coughing muscles to get everything out. That's the most important, because every single time in the middle of the night I cough. This is when I cough, is in the middle of the night. During the day, maybe a few times. But in the middle of the night, I'm coughing up extra stuff that is still, evolving. Like, I still get exposed to variants in my environment because I still sneeze, okay, occasionally. And so, that is the most important thing, is to build up your coughing muscles, because I'm telling you, these variants are going to be even more highly communicable. They're going to be even more aggressive. The 2020 was like laying the groundwork. 2021 is a calm before the storm. Now that we have so many different variants, because all the different therapeutics plus all the other variants that are out there mutating over there overseas, and people are bringing them home because they're traveling everywhere, it's going to be insane intense every single change of the season. That's why the Australia is under lockdown, because they're going into their winter. Okay, or they're going into winter because we're going into our summer. So they're in winter, we're in summer. It's always flipped. The poles are always flipped over there in here. And so when America and the West, England, UK, whatever, when they start heading into fall and winter, it's when it's going to ramp up. The communicability is going to be so intense. And yeah, they're going to probably do another lockdown this fall and this winter. And expect it. They're probably going to have the masks go back on. You've got to expect it. Let me tell you, the viruses haven't changed. They're always going to evolve to the level of somebody else strengthening it, because that's just what happens. When life wants to live, it needs to evolve. It compounds the information. So there's so much information out there in different parts of the world, in different labs. In different parts of the world, different people hold different genetic information. And when they cough it out, because they have to, they can't keep it in. But when you cough it out, it's supposed to evolve everyone around you. But of course, nobody wants to evolve at inopportune times when they're trying to accomplish something. And so people get really upset when someone is forcing them to evolve. No different than me going on Facebook and talking about J juice, and I get all these angry faces because they don't want to evolve and they're resisting it, but yet they're forced to go and look at my page. I don't know who's forcing them, but they are. So they want to evolve, but they just don't like the evolution, but they want to evolve. And that's the fight in humanity, is the fact that they are forced to evolve. Because they want the information, they just don't want to have to deal with the fact that they got to go through it. And that's the thing. And so you now have to train your body to learn how to get stuff out. You got to take a rest, you guys. You got to seriously take a freaking rest. Start cutting down your expenses, I'm telling you. Because you're going to need the time to really take care of yourself. For those that understand what's going on, even though your businesses are booming and the J juice is helping you get through stuff, but that was the first calm before the storm. If you're doing so much J juice and you're that fucking skinny, which I know is happening to some of my people, even though they're eating a bunch of food, but if you're doing so much J juice because you're afraid to deal with the pain, then I'm telling you, a big freaking virus is going to knock you on your ass. You have to start putting on the pounds and cutting down your energy with J juice and start packing on the pounds. You need the insulation. You need it. You need the insulation, because I'm telling you, I actually feel like, I'm not as big as I was a couple weeks ago, or I don't feel as heavy as I was a week or so ago. But I knew that my feelings of like robustness and voluminousness was the fact that my body was preparing me to deal with that electrical charge. Because when you have so many viruses that are sending messages to your DNA, that in turn is sending out antigen messages to then all of your cells, and it's going through your bloodstream, it's going to evolve your bloodstream. So that's why you feel the hot flushes. I feel hot flushes every so often. Like last night, I felt a real prickly, feeling like all over my body, as if my body was going to sleep. Or like, when your foot's asleep and everything's all prickly. That's exactly how I felt for like a few seconds. And then it just, there's a temperature rise, the prickly feeling, and then it dropped. And so I knew my blood was probably, the blood was getting evolved from, whatever, because it was throughout my whole body. So I know the circulatory system was working in my body. Okay, so you have to understand that evolution will happen in your blood. Evolution will happen on your skin. Evolution is going to happen in your respiratory. That's why all the symptoms of cancer are everything that's almost like a flu virus, and then added extra stuff like you can't seem to heal from wounds, and you have pain in bones and all this stuff. Yeah, your bones are evolving too. Okay? And so then what happens is that people take cannabis and they use their own hormones to anesthetize themselves, but don't do anything different. They're not healing and sealing. They're just anesthetizing themselves. So, or they try to kill off the tumor that is coming to surface with CBD oil and kill off that growth, instead of saying, okay, that tumor is letting me know there's a huge leak somewhere in my body, and that excess amount of growth is like saying we're overcompensating for a deficit somewhere in your body. And so people don't realize that's what it is, and so they remove it. So they're removing more life from their body. Though the tumors can, yes, get in the way of your life, because it might cut off blood supply and cut off feeling, and then you can't walk or something else, and then you're forced to have it removed. Yeah, but what if you took the J juice and you broke it up with the J juice, that tumor, and distributed that growth and healed and sealed those patches in your body that were causing that deficit, causing more growth. And then all of a sudden you get feeling back in your legs because that tumor is going down. You see, that's the thing with tumors. It's letting you know there's a leak somewhere. But then what people do is they go and aggressively take antibiotics or some kind of aggressive mineral type thing, and they just suffocate that life. And then that is a chain reaction, and that's going to work against you. And so you have to understand that all cancer is just life that's trying to grow on a body that's at a deficit. And every single disease out there is a body trying to evolve, but you have not given it what it needs. Anemia, again, it's lack of red meat. Okay, why do you need the red meat? It has the complete proteins, it has the amino acid, the complete proteins, it has all the different stuff that, yes, you could also find in soy, I guess, as a complete protein. And then you add the sugars, and then you add, there's so many there's like B complex, is it B something, vitamin B1 or something that's in red meat. But there will be eventually a bioengineered, if it's not already out there, like incognito, I think, that would have probably the same, very similar components in the bioengineered one, as the one that's real after you were to actually eat an animal. So biotech and Bill Gates is obviously working on making sure that our food is biofortified to have us be able to handle the variants in the environment. So I'm telling you, do not knock Bill Gates, you guys. Now, I understand people have issues with the vector therapeutics, but I'm telling you, when you have something such an aggressive virus, okay, not many people, hardly anyone out there, even people on the JJs, will have an easy time dealing with a very aggressive variant. Because I'll tell you what, again, yes, the inserts say all these different things, but those are evolution, okay? You're going to be experiencing evolution on viruses no matter what. So when you're taking spike proteins from a virus that's very condensed in a community, and you're putting it in a vector therapeutic, and you're adding other type of stuff, yes, you will have allergies, like egg protein allergies. That's why we have food allergies. It's still evolution. It's still the body maybe being programmed in such a way, because viruses have to have a host. They must have a host. And to give people a lesser version of the very aggressive programming, it must be watered down in some kind of vector therapeutic, of which is the whole point of vector therapeutics. And what people don't understand is not everybody can handle the environment. If you can handle the environment, then you're going to be thinking that the vector therapeutics are like a bullshit, right? I get it. But then those that are very immunocompromised, that are somewhere in between where they can handle the watered down version and to where they can't handle the condensed version, it's a welcoming thing, and they'd welcome the symptoms because they know that it's working. And the people are like, oh, how can you insert yourself with the disease if you're going to get it in the environment? Because the environment's so freaking aggressive. The thermodynamics from an aggressive virus is so insane. I felt it. And I'm on the J juice. And I got it from someone that was just recently vaccinated. But she could have had her life saved, because if she were to actually get the actual virus that was in the environment, and she got a vector that's a watered down version, and she still came to the party. She still was at the party. But she felt bad. But I'm glad she gave it to me. Because at least I got to able to exercise my diaphragm to know that I can handle that. If I do get exposed to another crazy variant, maybe I won't be as bad because I've built up my diaphragm. Okay? So not everybody can handle the condensed version. That's why people die when they do get exposed. Like, look what happened in China. People were dropping like flies before they even had the vector therapeutics. Okay? And so that's what happens, is when your body is not prepared to deal with that electrical charge, it'll either trigger a heart attack, and thank God you survive, but not everybody survives heart attacks. And then it becomes heart failure. It becomes vital organ failure when you have that much of an aggressive electric charge that you're not prepared for. And it will happen at so many different points. You won't know when. Like, I didn't know that until I can trace to now, like hindsight's 2020, I kind of figured out where I picked up my virus from, which is fine. I'm fine with it. I mean, herd immunity is when your community is lessening the version, the aggressive version out there, because has a different programming. But you might be still exposed to someone's programming that is the actual condensed version. Yeah, you've been exposed to someone with a lesser version, so you have, some form of adaptability. I'm not going to say protection, adaptability. And so when you do get exposed to a very aggressive version of the same thing that happened in a therapeutic, you'll know you'll survive it because you've been through it. You've coughed it out. You've been through all the symptoms. It's not going to be a surprise. And this is for people on the J juice. It's not going to be a surprise, and you'll be fine. And you just keep building up your strength, because I'll tell you what, down the road, you're going to want your freedom. What does that freedom mean? You're going to want to go and travel. And do you really want to be hitching J juice, traveling with you everywhere you go? Or you want to know you can handle every microbiome? That's the whole point of J juice, is that it helps flex those muscles and their training wheels, and then you finally flex them on your own and know that you'll survive them as you're flexing. But, some dude down the street who has never really flexed their intracellular muscles, always been to the doctors and been to the hospitals and been everywhere, they won't have what it takes to really flex and get things out. So then they have to go on a ventilator or go get other things done to then be like a scarecrow and Tin Man, being oiled and plucked and pulled and surgically done and whatever. And so that's what the medical system is taking people who basically atrophy themselves and manually channel blocking or channel opening based upon intention and purpose. And so the J juice is so evolutionary because it forces you now to deal with the pain, if you're not using J juice as a freaking cure, and flex those muscles. And then you got to rest. And that's why chasing after so much money, figure out what you can live on, figure out how much you can live on, and then prioritize. Okay? Prioritize. Take the rest. Take the freaking rest. And so, because let me tell you, if you're exerting more energy than you're able to retain, regardless if you healed and sealed, you could be on the J juice for the last couple of years and you're doing so much freaking J juice, like a lot of it, especially when you're feeling, pain. And so what's going to happen is when you're in pain and the body's regenerating and you're energizing your evolution away, right? the environment is still working against you. And so the environment's going to cannibalize you. And you're also using J juice to cannibalize you. And so you'll actually be releasing more energy than you're able to retain. And so then you have a very cattywampus thermodynamics. So you have to start packing on the pounds, packing on the pounds. I'm telling you, in this next environment, you need to have something to you. You need to have reserves. I'm telling you, you need to have reserves, because this is going to be, because look at people that have cancer. Look how skinny they are, or they're losing weight, or they're aging. And then look at when they get the therapeutics, they're even aged even more. That's what energy in the environment does when the body is still trying to work. You know, when the engines are running and there is nothing really to the engines, but the engines are working off of fumes, you know, what's left of your body as it's degrading is like fumes. And then eventually it's going to hit the vital organs. And that's why you have to pad and insulate your vital organs and the rest of your body so you can handle the electrical charges. Okay? Because no matter what, even if you get a vector therapeutic, you'll still be exposed to the main one out there. And if you don't get a vector therapeutic, you'll still be exposed to those with vector therapeutics and those that have, you know, dealt with the virus in its natural environment, the most condensed version. And you're going to have to deal with both sides of those equations. Do you have what it freaking takes? You have to start exercising your diaphragm, and you need to deal with it, and don't energize it away. When you get sick from a variant, maybe do a little shot of J juice when you're coughing, maybe one time or a few times, depends on how aggressive it is. I've been doing J juice for the last 4 years really faithfully, intermittently, as far as just when I take it in. But this last couple, this last 3 or 4 months, maybe I don't think I did a whole quart the last 3 or 4 months. Okay? Because my body is able to handle it. I have the energy, I have, you know, the body to me to deal with it. Thank God I'm married. I'm not on the prowl looking for a mate, because not that they'd be, I don't know. But I mean, when women are single and they're looking for somebody, they're trying to look the best they can and trying to match up to an ideal that is basically emaciated, and that's not going to work for you in this environment. Emaciation and looking for a man at this point is, forget it. So thank God I'm married and he loves me no matter what. But I'm still actually pretty, my foot is asleep because I had my cross in my legs. All right, I'm going to go and drink some coffee. But I'm going to tell you, cancer is nothing more than a flu virus that's very aggressive. And so a flu virus says that you are any kind of virus that you feel, it says that your body's evolving to the level of the environment. Eat your way through it. Eat and release and cough stuff out. Okay? That's all I got to say. Good luck, everybody. Bye.